Hello, and welcome to another episode, a long-awaited episode of the Ono podcast. Today, we will be wading through the Odyssey in its entirety. We're going to talk about Christopher Nolan. We're going to talk about Matt Damon as Odysseus. We're going to talk about Homer. We're going to talk about the Odyssey. Before we do that, though, guys, we can take turns, but what are your thoughts on Christopher Nolan? What's your relationship to him as a filmmaker? Because this is arguably like the pinnacle of his career. So we have to kind of discuss what's happening leading up to this movie before we start talking about this movie. Otto.
The pinnacle of his career. I don't know. I've always, no, I've obviously always very much respected him as a filmmaker. I mean, I feel like I've never really felt the same way a lot of other people feel about him. Obviously, like with Oppenheimer, like obviously I really enjoyed that. I thought it was a great movie, but like I don't know. I don't know if it's weird to say that maybe he's had less of a lasting impact on me than other, filmmakers of his caliber.
Even though we may not be as crazy about Interstellar, I think Inception has problems. I'm not crazy about all the Batman movies. I think it's really important to note that I think at this point, it's pretty clear that he is, if not the best, the kind of definitive 20th century filmmaker. Like no director has kind of ruled the 2020s, the 2010s as much as Christopher Nolan. So, Noah, what's your relationship to his movies? Do you have a kind of favorite? We're going to do a ranking later. The next podcast will be a Nolan ranking. But right now, right before we talk about the Odyssey, what do you think about Christopher Nolan?
Well, I've been familiar with him for a while. I mean, he's obviously sort of the definitive filmmaker. If you're not into movies, you know who he is, of
Hmm.
course. And, you've got like every single production company's like trying their hardest to basically like get his next movie because they know how much money it's going to make and they know how good it's going to be
Hmm.
in the quality of the script and the quality of the acting and the CGI and just how he makes films.
Hmm.
I personally, I'd say I'm not too close with his filmmaking. I find that he lacks a lot of things that I enjoy in filmmaking.
Hmm.
I think he's kind of like, for me, he's very hit or miss. There are films of his that I've like enjoyed, and there are films that I just have not enjoyed at all.
Hmm.
Films I've found like incredibly laborious to watch, or just like the plot is just trying to be too confusing.
Hmm.
But certainly his two film run has been quite impressive with Oppenheimer and now the Odyssey. I wasn't too impressed with Tenet myself. I didn't really. I mean, it's not that I didn't understand it. It's just some of his kind of time bend movies. I like calling them Interstellar,
Yeah.
Inception, and Tenet. It's almost like he's trying a little bit too hard to be confusing, which I kind of don't respect.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, of course, we're going to get to it in a second, but I was very impressed with the Odyssey.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that you kind of paired Oppenheimer and Tenet because I feel like that is the newest era of his career. And I'll just say, I think this most recent era is probably my favorite. Dunkirk might be in that conversation as well, but that's a movie I love. But I think, I mean, making this movie is fascinating. So why don't we get into it? So this is his 13th film. Again, we'll be ranking all 13 later after this podcast. And now that he's won Best Director and Best Picture, and Oppenheimer kind of ran the table for that year and made $1 billion, you can tell he's kind of leveraging his success to make this film. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the Odyssey. It's directed by Christopher Nolan. It's produced by his wife, Emma Thomas. Shot by Hoyte van Hoytema. Music by Ludwig Göransson. Edited by Jennifer Lame. I want to talk a lot about the editing in this
So
movie because I
lame.
think it's very important. Um, it's based on Homer's Odyssey. It costs $250 million, and it tells the story of Odysseus, a strategist and warrior who fought in the Trojan War, and his journey home to Ithaca, where he was once king. He battles trials and tribulations on the sea on his long journey home to his wife, Penelope, and his son, Telemachus. The movie stars probably the most stacked cast in movie history. Matt Damon as Odysseus, Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, John Leguizamo, Hamish Patel, Zendaya, Charlize Theron, Samantha Morton, Elliot Page, Benny Safdie, John Bernthal, Lupita Nyong'o, Mia Goth, and Travis Scott. I'll say we will talk about Travis Scott. Um, I'll say off the bat, Otto, what did you think of the Odyssey?
Um, I mean, it was a very stressful 2 hours. I set in there with high hopes. Is it weird to say I kind of expected maybe a bit more of a grounded take on the Odyssey? I don't know, or like maybe something a little bit like I don't know, maybe more realistic. But I was very happily surprised with the direction he took it in, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Noah, what are your
I
thoughts?
mean, so we watched it together, and I think we both came in with very high expectations. I kind of came out satisfied, really. I really enjoyed it.
Hmm.
It's definitely my favorite Nolan, who I struggle to get
Really?
along with. Yeah.
That's
Oh yeah,
Wow.
interesting.
by quite a margin as well.
What?
Um,
Okay, okay.
yeah,
We'll get
it
into this.
is. It
We'll
is.
talk about that. That's really interesting.
I just thought from kind of start to finish, it was completely. I mean, okay. I mean, maybe the start was a little too slow, but I mean, come on, it's a Christopher Nolan movie. I mean, what the do you expect? But once it gets going, it gets going, and I don't know. It feels like that he doesn't really put his foot on the brakes, which I see him do so many times, and it gets on my nerves. Where he's like driving a narrative, and then there are just these scenes that kind of have no correlation and it slows it down. I always find that with his movies.
Hmm.
And I just think that in this one, everything went right because he had a text to base it on that's already hailed as one of the best of all time. He's
Hmm.
got an amazing cast of actors. He's got an amazing composer by his side. He can literally. There was no way in my mind that this could have gone completely south, and I was extremely happy with the result. And it is my favorite Christopher Nolan. Yes.
That's okay, so that's amazing. We'll talk about whether it's the best, I think, a little later once we've parceled through a lot of it, because I'll just say from here on out, we're going to be spoiling this movie. It's impossible to talk about it without spoiling it. Also, it's 5,000 years old. You should probably know about it. Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you. I I'm gonna try not to brag, but I did see this movie in an incredible way. Um,
Wow.
I did watch it in 70 millimeter IMAX in LA. Um, and the line was around the block. So it literally felt like an old Hollywood movie opening where I saw it at the Man's Chinese Theater, and the line was all the way back, like all the way back, 40 minutes before the movie it was even scheduled to start, and it started like 30 minutes late. Um, yeah, I don't think this is my favorite. I don't think this is my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. Um, but I will say that I think it's the most Christopher Nolan movie, and there's so much in this film to really admire. I think it is legitimately in the conversation for most epic movie ever made. Like, I really think it is like certainly of the 21st century, if not of all time. Like the level of accomplishment in the filmmaking in this movie, the fact that it was all done practically is literally impossible for me to understand. The fact that it was all shot on IMAX 70 millimeter, which is notoriously hard to shoot on. Like the cutting style is so like aggressive and yet it flows so interestingly. I don't know. Like I'm really fascinated with this film. I can't wait to watch it again. Um, I almost wish I had rewatched it before doing this. Even though that it's kind of hard because it's sold out across the country. Um, this is probably the most insane kind of sensation of a movie since Barbenheimer, I think. Um, one way or another, like on this quality, I just think it's a magnificent achievement, and I think the scope and scale of it is really, really special. I'll just ask, so I think people were kind of skeptical when the movie was coming out about the kind of cast of this movie. You know, Matt Damon is Odysseus. Matt Damon.
Yeah.
And I'll just say for me, that was what most surprised me about it, was how much I genuinely really loved Matt Damon in this role. And I understand that at the same time you're watching it, there is a kind of part of removal where you're like, that just can't be Odysseus because it's Matt Damon. But at the same time,
I found that with Tom Holland's like, why the f is Peter Parker cosplaying as Telemachus?
we're gonna get
That
to Tom Holland.
yeah.
We're gonna get to Tom Holland. But I mean, I'll ask you guys about Matt Damon. I thought I was very surprised by how good he was in this film. What did you guys think of him as Odysseus?
I
Oh, I
mean,
loved
is
it.
it crazy to say this is maybe one of my favorite roles for him? I mean,
Oh, it's my favorite. It's my favorite. I like it better than Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, I mean, I tend
It
to
was
agree.
kind of it's a bit like, well, you know, we didn't expect Leonardo DiCaprio to play who he did in The Revenant, right?
Right.
I feel like it's kind of similar. I mean, I wouldn't expect Matt Damon to play Odysseus, and he just absolutely crushes it. It's so. I mean, I thought it was completely standout. Absolutely.
I think
There are a
also,
few other actors and actresses who were in this film that I genuinely thought were so good, and there are a few that I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not too sure about him or her in this
Yeah.
role.
But it's not, sorry, just like keeping it very general. I feel like it's not even really their fault though. Like they're just
No, I know.
younger,
Look,
like
there's
they
a
just get
whole.
along.
I mean, if you read about the production of this movie, it seems like the really only person who knows what's going on is Christopher Nolan, where it's like he has all of these actors. I mean, he's shooting on location in islands in Greece. Okay. He's going basically from island to island shooting this thing with his crew, like on boat, on sea. You have actors coming in and out where it's like Zendaya's in it for a bit. Samantha Morton will come in for a scene. In a less fortunate outcome of this movie, everyone would act like they're in a different movie because they just don't know what the hell is happening. This movie is so big and unwieldy. And I think what Matt Damon brings to it, you know, he has this American accent and he looks like Matt Damon. But the great thing is, in this movie, you really have to root for Odysseus because he kind of does some really dumb stuff. And he can be a little bit, not annoying, but you can kind of challenge him and his morals a little bit. But Damon is just so naturally likable as an actor that you really do want to kind of root for him, and you're just always kind of consistently, you're pulling for him to get home, and you do need that to make the movie work. But for right now, let's just start this movie. It's told in a fascinating way, where the first act is kind of taking. I love the backdrop. The first act is kind of taking you through Ithaca and kind of setting the stage for the stakes at home. It opens with Travis Scott. Let's just get the humor out of the way first. What did you guys think of Travis Scott in this movie?
I kind of liked it. I don't know. I was kind of a fan.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of don't have many thoughts. It just seemed like coming out of that, I kind of completely forgot he was in it. He was just like he's the bard, right? Like I just
Yeah. I don't know. I'd say, you know, because he shared an Instagram story of his mum's text to him after she saw the Odyssey. It was like, you were like the best in that movie. It was like, bro, you had like two scenes. He is genuinely like, it's a great way to open the movie, in my opinion.
It is.
I mean, how else are you going to open it? How else are you going to open this massive voyage?
The second Travis Scott's voice came up, people started laughing, and it's a little unfortunate because like
it's a bit weird,
and like everyone was just like giggling, and I actually thought it was really badass, and I was like, this is kind of sick that Travis Scott's in this movie. Like, it's just kind of funny, and I think Nolan knows there's a kind of funny element to it, so I enjoyed it. But yeah, so basically, yeah, go on.
Well, it's just like just like back to like I wouldn't say it was bad in any way. Like it didn't stick out to me as something. But I do feel like, okay, if you're going to have Travis Scott in your movie, like why not, like, I don't know, give him a little bit more to do. Like I feel like it just could have gone to any other, maybe slightly more experienced
Yeah,
actor, and it would have been like at least the same or maybe better. I don't know.
yeah,
It
maybe.
just seemed a little unnecessary.
Yeah, I think that's the general consensus, and I don't disagree. Um, but yeah, so the movie starts at Ithaca. We're introduced to Tom Holland, and he plays Telemachus, and then Penelope we're introduced to, as well as John Leguizamo. Um, I have basically thoughts of them strewn across this movie because we do cut back to Ithaca quite a bit. Um, but this first kind of 30 minutes is basically just a lot of exposition, and it is a lot of here's what Odysseus means to these people. He's been gone for this long. Here's what has kind of happened in his absence, where we see that these suitors have arrived to kind of claim Penelope's hand in marriage. Um, I'm curious, what did you guys think about Anne Hathaway's Penelope? Because this is a very difficult character in many ways. And, I've read the original poem, and for a lot of interpretations, she is very much this kind of damsel and is often kind of reduced to a very domesticated role. I think Christopher Nolan makes a really interesting choice in this movie to kind of make her Odysseus's intellectual equal. And she may not be given infinite amounts of agency, but she has these, like, I think one or two standoffs with Tom Holland and with Robert Pattinson that really hammer home the idea that she does have kind of her own level of intelligence and initiative in order to kind of take action in Ithaca. What did you guys think of Anne Hathaway? Did you think she was good in this movie?
I thought I was very impressed by her, honestly. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, she just felt, you're right. She did feel like she had a degree of agency, even though, like, I don't know, I guess she was pretty much just locked up there and doing whatever Tom Holland says by the end of it. But, yeah, I mean, also, yeah, this is something that I'm just thinking about now. I guess they really didn't, like, they kind of saved her name drop for a while there. I
Mm-hmm.
just feel, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I don't think they like said her name like
No,
at
they
all in
don't.
the film until like the second
No, they
half.
don't.
Felt very
They
powerful.
don't. They don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm trying to be different here. I mean, I thought it was good. Definitely. I mean, I liked her performance. I don't know. I don't. It's just my hang-ups with Anne Hathaway as an actress. I just think that there are certain aspects of her acting that I don't really like. Where there's this whole kind of crash out scene that she has at Telemachus, which I
Yeah,
genuinely thought was kind of
I want
not
Odysseus.
great.
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't like that. Nor did I like the kind of one of the final scenes where she's like, "No, don't die on me." That's one of my main hang-ups of the movie, which I'll get to later.
The
But I didn't
conclusion we'll
like
talk
that
about.
either. I didn't like that either. I didn't like her acting there, or just the dialogue in general. But I just think, yeah, I mean, her
I
character
suppose
is.
didn't like her then.
I didn't like the character. Fine.
Okay,
I definitely respected it though.
okay, that's interesting. I don't know. I think for this performance, you just need. I mean, all like let's be real. Like pretty much all the acting in this movie is very outsized and dramatic. There's very little subtlety throughout this entire movie. I think
No,
in
there's
terms of that.
none. There's
Well,
none.
yeah, this is not a very subtle movie, but
No.
I think what Anna Hathaway brings to it is this kind of level of it's both like interiority and very kind of fierceness. And in the scene she has kind of with Tom Holland and Pattinson, I do think she kind of controls the screen, which is what you really need when you're away from Odysseus because all the other stuff in this movie is so exciting, like action scene, and and Matt Damon's holding it all together. When you cut away from him, you do need someone to kind of take the reins a little bit, and I think she kind of does that. I also love this choice to kind of constantly shoot her kind of trapped behind this wooden
Behind the wood. I thought that was that was really good. And also, I love the shots with the kind of her face is blurred out from the tapestry. That is so cool. That I thought was really cool.
It shows Nolan is clearly kind of thinking about her role in the story in a really interesting way. It's showing that very well on screen.
A damsel in distress, one could say.
Before we get to the Cyclops, I want to talk about Tom Holland a little later, if that's okay, because I don't want to get impressed right now. Before we get to the Cyclops, we have a kind of Nolan newcomer. John Leguizamo's in this movie.
No, he was in the original Mario movie, I think.
He's in the original Mario movie.
I know that guy.
But this is really his first big role in a while, and I thought he was sensational in this film. Like, I think this is genuinely a highlight for me in terms of performances. I think he just has this immense kind of...
Hang on a minute.
Yeah. What
role does he play in the Odyssey? Well, no, it's just...
He's this kind of old beggar. He's the beggar who's...
Oh, he's the blind guy! Oh, he was fantastic!
Right? He's amazing.
Yeah!
There's probably a shoo-in for Best Supporting Actor, but I think he sits comfortably up there with the top 3 of this film.
Definitely.
I totally agree. I'm glad you guys agree, because I was worried when you didn't recognize him, but it's fair enough, because John Leguizamo has not been in much.
He's so great in that.
His work in this movie, I think, is just incredible.
Can we actually just respect the amazing acting performances from animals in this movie? Genuinely, the animals need a shout out.
Yeah, we'll get to animals
from
later
sheep to dogs dying and sheep being herded out and in and out and in.
Yeah,
genuinely.
R.I.P. to Argus, man. That dog had a rough time. It just makes you hate the Pattinson character more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, you know, I mean, Nolan builds up so much hatred for that. What's that other character? It's portrayed by. Yes.
Yeah.
Hit that guy. Oh my god.
He's also good. I mean, that's the thing about this movie.
It's all good performances.
There's a lot of that guys in this movie where he comes in for I don't know, 3 minutes of screen time, and you're like, "Whoa, that guy was good." You know, I really hate that guy. I really thought this performance was really good, and it all is just kind of building to this vast world of kind of mythology and lore.
Can we talk about performances now? Actually, seeming as we're on it.
Well, yeah, it seems more sense do it island by island.
Before we launch into that, is there any other things you guys want to talk about the Ithaca part of the story? I mean, I think it's structured in a really interesting way, and this is, I think, Nolan's touch. And it's a really interesting screenplay because in the original poem, this is very much present. The first 4 chapters are all about Ithaca and Telemachus, and then it moves to Odysseus almost home, recounting his adventures, and then he comes home, and then the conclusion of the movie. But in this movie, you get the Ithaca perspective, and then Tom Holland goes to Menelaus, and then you get Menelaus recounting the Trojan War. And at the same time, you have Odysseus recounting his travels from Calypso's island while he's simultaneously recalling his memories. So it is this kind of fractured narrative that you kind of see that is similar throughout Christopher Nolan's career. And I just think that choice is very kind of smart. It can be a little confusing, especially if you haven't read the original text, but I think it was a kind of genuinely smart choice to structure it in this way, because it does kind of lend itself to the feeling of being lost at sea a little bit. What did you guys think of that?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get into... We're probably going to have to talk about Tom Holland later, but every time it cut back to him, I was like, wow, he just does not capture me the same way that anyone else in this movie is capturing me.
I don't want to talk all about him now, but I'll just say I thought he was bad.
No, I mean, it's just not his fault. He was just
he's just Spider-Man, bro. I'm sorry, you're Spider-Man. Yeah, I know it feels so good.
Ideal.
Stop screening out.
But yeah, I think we could talk about Tom Holland a little bit later, but he is pretty much outacted in every scene he's in. unfortunately for him.
Absolutely.
Okay, so next up we have the Cyclops. I think it's fair to say that this is, if not the most iconic scene in the Odyssey, one of the most iconic scenes in literature of all time, and for good reason. So basically, after leaving Troy, after victoring there, we'll get to that later. Um, Odysseus sets off with his crew, including Hamish Patel, who is a big part
Oh
of
my
this
gosh.
movie, I think, and a
Love it.
genuine surprise. Someone who I didn't think was going to be in it for that much, but is, I think, a very kind of important character, especially relating to Odysseus himself. He kind of offers this contrasting doubt about Odysseus's abilities, and I think for good reason. What did you guys think of his character?
Genuinely, for me, I was so it was fantastic. I think he was one of my favorite characters in the whole film.
Yeah, I think he did a great job. Genuine, great job.
He's really good at it. Like genuinely, extremely convincing.
Yeah,
I
probably one of the more convincing performances I would say in this world of rank mythology.
definitely
Um,
Tom Tolland.
but yeah, let's get to the Cyclops. That's what the people are fiending for. Um, we get to the island. They are, of course, in search of cattle. We know how this is going to go. They follow the sheep into a cave. Upon entering the cave, a giant Cyclops Polyphemus enters, seals them off, and begins picking the crew off one by one. First off, I'd just like to say the fact that this was all done practically with a humongous puppet, as well as the human performer Bill Irwin,
Wow.
He
is
knows the names
just,
as well.
I know. I mean, he's just I mean, this is just one of the most breathtaking scenes in movies in recent memory.
That was so.
Um,
That's why you guys are like so wrong. Like, stop lying to yourself and
trying
saying
to.
that,
It's a great
like
island.
the
It's a
site.
great
It's
scene.
the best. It's better than
It's good.
Epstein's
It's
Island.
very
It's
good.
so good, right?
It's
It's
this is one of
genuinely
the best scenes
from
in the film.
start to finish. When he goes into the water, oh, for God's sake,
Yeah,
I mean, I'd love to hear your argument for your favorite island. I'd love to hear it, but
we'll get
in
to
the
it.
end, I mean, like, come on, it's just in terms of things being so well done, right? This like the practicality of that scene, and the Cyclops genuinely, and Otto said this after the movie, was genuinely terrifying. Like
Scary,
genuinely,
really
like
scary. His eye
it wasn't
freaked
just
me
like
out.
a Snapchat filter, right? It was
Yeah,
genuinely like an actual cyclopean entity. It was
yeah,
terrifying, and the fact that it's it's not that he's got his eye and then he's got his nose and
yeah.
his mouth. Like his
His
nose
eyes,
is
like,
distorted
yeah,
and the eye is slanted. It's like genuinely horrible to look at, and his like body is all wrinkly and old and
Yeah.
disgusting. Like like no shame to the actor. I'm sure you take care of your skin, but like genuinely like horrifying to like watch at times.
Yeah.
And like you could okay. So me and Otto, like we're not pussies, but like both of us had our fingers in our ears in
Whoa.
the
Yeah.
part where he stabs him in the eye
I
and
don't want
he's
to
like
talk about this.
writhing in pain, and that layered with the music and him like crashing everything around him, genuinely I had to put it was just too loud. Like, but it
I
was
mean,
so cool.
I'll say
Amazing
Like,
this.
soundtrack.
Yeah,
and
like
like
in IMAX.
when they get okay, you know what? There is one island that I think is up for debate as being one of the best. In fact, there's two, but I just think that the thing that the cherry on top is the fact that like he chases them into the
Yeah, the
water. Like
chase is
you think he's
unbelievable.
only gonna be on land? No, he's and like this is okay, and I'm getting onto this. This is the main foundation of why I think Odyssey is the best Nolan movie, because I think it genuinely is the movie with the best sound design I've ever seen in my life. Like, genuinely, there is
Unbelievable.
not a better film with a better sound design. As someone who works in sound and has worked in sound and knows what kind of how to record sound, I've never been so impressed with like they should have appeared first before Christopher Nolan on the credits. They did a more
All
important job
right,
than
there,
he did,
buddy.
Okay.
right?
I'm
No,
gonna say
I'm
this.
sorry. They did a better job than him. Like,
And like
What?
I don't know what
they
theater you
made
guys
that
saw it in.
movie.
My mom and my uncle were covering their ears during this scene because his shrieks, like, it's echoey and it's like it has so much bass to it, and yet you've like never heard anything like it. Like it's one of those like Aztec death whistles, but
Yeah.
like applied so perfectly to this creature. I think you're right. I mean, the subwoofer goes off in this movie.
Right.
Like
No,
the
no, no,
subwoofer go like
no. Save, save,
like,
save,
oh my
save, save,
gosh.
save, save, save. Because
Yeah,
that's
we'll
one of my
save it.
criticisms. That's
Wow.
Okay.
that's one of my criticisms of the movie.
Okay.
Okay.
Otto,
Okay. Should we
anything to
get?
add to the Cyclops?
I mean, yeah. Let's. Are we gonna like get into the elephant in the room here? Like him not talking at all. Just like the whole. Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess the most like one of the biggest criticisms of that scene is definitely like the whole cutting out the whole "I am nobody" stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess.
The, I
Yeah.
mean,
Sorry. I think you had that written down in your notes as well.
I do. I mean, it's an interesting choice. I feel like as a culture, like we're more modern watchers at this point. So even for me, I didn't know about any of that stuff, even reading the book. So I was kind of like, whoa, the Cyclops can talk. Um, but I feel like it's kind of, I like this. I can understand like purists kind of being a little bit upset because Polyphemus is a little bit more of a intelligent creature than culture kind of gives him credit for. But I
Mhm.
think Nolan's choice to act the dialogue and to say, would you talk to some ants? And to just kind of ignore the slightly more dated, kind of goofy hijinks of the I'm Nobody stuff. It modernizes the movie a little bit and just kind of it speeds it up and makes it much more scary. Like if Odysseus added that whole part where he's just screaming I'm nobody, then it's like I don't know this the scene has
No,
the kind of
Yeah.
effect.
I mean, I thought that it was so much more effective,
Yeah, I just
I
agree.
definitely get some.
but
I
he
mean,
didn't. But like, this is the thing: if he wasn't going to talk, like, that's the only thing is that he like is able to talk. Like that's the whole thing. Like they clearly show him like whispering,
Hmm.
and they're like, "Oh, so he speaks. Let's
Right.
go."
yeah, I
Right?
don't.
I mean, that's a little bit annoying, but genuinely, like, I just think that like seeing his like figure like emerge from the water once he submerges, and
Unbelievable.
I just think that's just so
That's a
fantastic. I mean,
classic
and
blockbuster Spielbergian moment of like
yeah,
he
I
can
mean, it's
swim.
almost like Jaws, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
it's like, and then Jaws starts walking on land. Like it's just like crazy.
that would make Jaws so
Um,
much better. Like I'm just gonna say that
no,
the
no,
problem with
because then
Jaws is the
Oren,
shark should have
because
won.
Oren.
Next island. This isn't my favorite. I'll just say. The Giants. Um, this scene I would say is the most traditionally kind of
Hang
swords
on.
and sandals scene.
With the giant, this is the one with the trees, and
Yeah, the
They have
armor
the
giants.
armor, they're on the
that's
marketing
like my
material.
second favorite. You lot are so wrong.
Interesting. I don't know. I like this scene.
I just
I
love,
definitely don't dislike this scene.
I love cat and mouse sequences. I always
Yeah.
have.
All right,
When
then.
like,
I like this
what?
scene. I like the setup. I think again, it being done practically using kind of small stunt doubles and then very kind of large actors to kind of give this juxtaposition. I think they're scary as well. For me, my thing with the scene is at this point in the movie, one of my um, slight criticisms is that it kind of feel like Nolan's checking boxes at this point. Like, all right,
Yeah.
we're going to go to the Giants, then we're going to do this and this maybe just be like
But I
one
mean,
island chase too many. It kind of has the
isn't
same
that?
structure as the last one.
But isn't? But isn't that the Odyssey in
It
general?
is.
Like, it's
It
just like
is.
one island after another. It's like literally chaptered as an island
Yes,
after another.
that's
So
true.
I'm not sure how much I agree with that. I don't
Yeah,
think
I
I
he's checking
mean,
boxes. I think he's just staying loyal to the text.
I don't know. I mean, it is definitely very good though, like by itself.
it's a
Like
cool
when you
I
scene.
just
don't
hear
know.
the
I
world
thought,
screaming, it is a great sense for both. Yeah, but
yeah,
it is a little too early structure-wise. Like we just keep
Yeah.
on seeing
fine.
the crew get mauled down, and it's like, oh, I
I
don't really care about any of
yeah.
these people.
And then they lose two ships, and it kind of feels like, okay, we need
Yeah.
to lose these two ships. Let's, and maybe this is a problem with Homer's original text. we can critique that, but
don't think we can.
it's not it's not a highlight for me in terms of the islands.
Fair enough.
At this point, though, we do have something very special to talk about, and I actually wonder if this will run us the whole meeting. But at this point, Telemachus has met with Menelaus and his wife Helena Troy, played by John Bernthal and Lupita Nyong'o. They are having a feast and Menelaus recaps basically the Trojan Horse. Before we get to the
love
scene,
that scene.
I'll just ask, what are your thoughts on Bernthal and Lupita Nyong'o in this movie? Because I think that they don't have the biggest parts, but I think Bernthal specifically really brought this kind of broiness to the movie that I just really appreciated, and he kind of feels like a real kind of like bro.
I mean, in terms of kind of tough guyness and him being a bro, he's like kind of outdone on every single aspect by another character who we'll get to it at some point.
You might want to look
but like, but like, Lupita is like, I don't know, like I like her as Helen of Troy, and it's definitely a different take on it because I don't think in the original text she's got all those scars. I don't think that's in the original text.
I don't remember it.
I'm pretty sure it isn't. I kind of scanned through it earlier. There isn't anything that says that she was like battered and done in and had scars all over her, which is definitely an interesting decision, which means she has been like mistreated, which is definitely another aspect on Helen of Troy, which is very clever. I was definitely like happy with it.
I was really happy with it too. I think that kind of Helen of Troy character, because she's the face that launched 1,000 ships and all this stuff, she can kind of be seen as this kind of mantelpiece character. And I think Nolan really does an interesting thing where she clearly expresses that like this war wasn't really about me. This war was about trade routes. It's about bad blood relationships with the Trojans. Like, I'm just the face of this. Like, I don't kind of deserve to face the repercussions of this when it's the husbands who've done the fight. Yeah, so we have Lupita and then we have John Bernthal. And John Bernthal tells Telemachus his perspective on the raid of Troy and what it was like to hide in the Trojan horse. What happened when they drug it into Troy, and of course the sacking of Troy, which is one of the most legendary scenes in literature. Once again, in my opinion, this is the scene of the movie. What I really love about this scene is just like, again, all done practically. There's a real horse. What's amazing about this scene is how tactile and real it feels. Like throughout culture, there have been kind of memes about how this was also a scene in Mr. Peabody and Sherman. But like throughout all of culture, this has kind of been so such a big piece of iconography that people kind of forget that if this actually did happen, which I doubt it did, how difficult this would have been, right?
Yeah.
Because you're stuck in this Trojan horse for 3 days. They talk about how they're covered in like bodily fluids and like shit, and everybody smells. They're all piled against each other. It's extremely hot, and then they talk about how arduous it is. Like Nolan shows them pulling the horse out of the sand and into the city. They talk about like hoisting it up on the Temple of Athena, and then it's just the whole scene is so realistic and grounded. I'm kind of genuinely in awe about how Nolan was able to do it. The extras, the staging of it, the geography of it, knowing where everything is. Like oftentimes in these big movies, you can kind of get lost in these scenes, just of how much is going on. But Nolan has this incredible control at all times, and it feels so amazing. Guys, what did you think of this scene? It's a good 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, when the guy started drowning and they'd give him like the little makeshift snorkel.
Yeah, the snorkel.
Like, there are some amazing moments from that.
Yeah. Then we're introduced to Sinan, who is Elliot Page's character, who is essentially sacrificed to kind of get the horse into Troy. I really liked him in this movie. I thought He was a really kind of convincing warrior. He's not in it that much, but there are repercussions of this event that happen later on in the film
Yeah.
that I think really pay off the presence of this character.
But like, am I wrong in saying that the raid of Troy opens up the movie as well? Like, is in
It
Elliot
does,
Page being killed,
Yeah.
and then
yeah.
because of it being non-linear, and then it kind of, I don't. I
I
was
mean,
such a big fan of this scene, but I think that what kind of stole it from me was just how amazingly designed that Trojan horse was. It's
it
insane.
was,
Seeing it
yeah.
submerged half in the sand is one of
It's,
the coolest
yeah.
shots I think ever, maybe.
That's like
Like
a Planet of the
genuinely.
Apes
It is.
homage. Yeah, yeah,
It is a great planet, and like I was like, this does remind me of something. But
yeah.
honestly, I mean, I just think it's really good, and it's when they climb out of the Trojan horse.
It's like a
Um,
spy movie. Like they just go around like killing guards, and the score is like and like everything starts to ramp up, and at a certain point, it's kind of matching your heart rate, and you're like, "What the hell is going on?" And then all
but
hell
as
breaks
in
loose.
just how kind of instead of using the camera to almost like be almost like a first person in it. So like when they drop down, the camera drops down and follows them, which I
Yeah,
guess would be the usual way to. Nolan uses a wide shot, like an ultra wide shot to show it, which
mhm.
honestly, and I'm just going to be completely honest and forgive me if I'm being cringe here, it makes it look a lot more like a video game or something, which I think is really
Yes,
cool.
It
it is a video
reminds me
Um,
game
of
scene.
playing Assassin's Creed as a kid.
You actually got to something while you were talking earlier about how this scene was kind of foreshadowed earlier on the film and how it opens the film. I think this is like a really interesting editing thing, and why I want to talk about the editing with this movie is because Jennifer Lane. I don't know if this is built into the script or not. I'd be very interested to see, but they make this choice to show things in the movie earlier in the film that pay off much later. So this is one example of that. I think the bow. We can talk about the plucking of the bow a little bit
oh yeah,
later.
we
But
can.
there are these little things like teased out across the film that by the time you get to the third act, all of them are kind of completed in a full
Sorted.
circle
Yeah.
moment. And even this scene, this isn't the last time we see the Trojan horse. Odysseus gives his kind of own take on what happens after the initial raid. But I just think it's this really fascinating choice Noah makes that just makes this movie so much more like emotionally and thematically fulfilling.
But I mean,
But
he does that in like most of his movies, like as in
yeah,
using a non-linear storyline, which I think is one of the most kind of like one of the most inviting things about his movies that
mm,
is that you're going to expect like in terms of storyline, you're going to expect things to be shifting back and forth and back and forth, which for many people, like the average um, below IQ American viewer, might put them off.
mhm,
Um, but it's a bit like how Stanley Kubrick in The Shining did a US release and a UK release, and in the US release he had an explainer scenes. But um, Nolan Nolan's storytelling is so. I mean, it's incredibly influential to a lot of the modern young directors that we see today.
definitely.
Um, and I think he was kind of an innovator of kind of like I almost think of him along with kind of David Fincher of being the two innovators of that non-linear progression. In this film, it shines more than most
I
because you
agree.
see, this is the things in Oppenheimer they used black and white, didn't they, to kind
Yes.
of symbolize what happened. There's no black and white here, right? Of
Mhm.
course not. Um, but I think that that's so much better because
Mhm.
like it's almost like you're kind of seeing two different scenes if you're seeing it in black and white and then you're seeing it in color. Whereas it's like a continuation and it's kind of fulfilling because you have all this new information and you're like, okay, so now I know that that's happened. Then this is probably going to follow. I always find that really, really great about his films, and it really shines in the Odyssey. It's part of the reason why I love it.
I fully agree. Um, And then, of course, we get what might be one of the best shots of the film, which is the gates open and Agamemnon
Don't,
stands tall
don't
Just stands
with
there.
his
st
He just
army.
get me.
stands there.
They walk, okay, and so they
Oramemnon.
storm the gates, and then you get these three great shots that I think have already become kind of immortalized in peen edits on TikTok, where the gates open, the incredible amount of army runs through, parting ways like the Red Sea, where Agamemnon steps forward, and then you get the shot of Menelaus and Odysseus cheering as
Yeah.
they proceed to raid Troy.
So,
Let's
I mean,
talk
we're
about
probably going.
Agamemnon.
Oh, okay,
Let's do
so
it.
I did a bit of research before
Okay,
this,
good.
Oh,
just
wow.
about
I have many thoughts.
how Benny Safdie prepared for this role. So he was editing The Smashing Machine, and Christopher Nolan approaches him and says, "How in shape are you?" And he goes, "I'm in a shape." And he says, "Okay, well, you're going to work on that because you're going to be playing Agamemnon." And he's like, "Okay, then." So basically, what happened is Benny just spent like hours and days in the gym, basically bulking up. But as it turned out, that wasn't the main difficulty. The main difficulty was trying to move around in his
Yeah.
uniform because it was designed in a way that reflected the original design.
Yeah, it's not
Um,
historically accurate, but in terms of
it's
like weight
not,
and armor
but in
parts,
terms
it's
of
very similar.
so he had to learn how to move around in it.
Yeah.
Um, Now Agamemnon is obviously, we all know from the Greek myth that Agamemnon already is like an absolute
He has
fearsome
aura.
character.
Yeah.
Yes, he has aura, but like in Troy or in like any of the other kind of Odyssey based films, he's always uh, uh, portrayed
Older
wearing
man.
gold.
Yeah.
Yeah, and portrayed wearing gold. Here, it's like matte black,
It's like Darth
like
Vader basically walking
charcoal
around.
black. Exactly, like Jacob was saying earlier, or maybe it was Otto. I don't know who it was that was telling me this earlier. Maybe it was even you who was saying that this must be how people felt when they first saw Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Was that any of you who said that? It must have
I
been
didn't say
Jacob
that.
then.
It probably was Jacob.
Um, Yeah,
He
but
drove insights on that.
genuinely, oh my god! I mean, and I'm obviously going to talk about the music later, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's a massive
I want to
highlight
talk
in
about it at Hades, is where I want to
Oh,
speak of the music.
okay.
okay,
I mean, I
interesting.
know I'm here with two Benny Safdie Glazers, so I'll keep this brief.
Uh,
I will say though, the moment he is not like the moment he starts talking, I kind of
Yeah,
lose a lot of
I
respect for
agree.
damn
him.
it!
I
I
think
know.
I'll
Oh
say
my
this.
god,
He's so
I was
horrible. I just
so.
wish he didn't talk.
I
I'll
wish
just
he
say
did
this.
talk, and I
I'll
wish he had a
just say this.
Batman voice.
I'm
It's
gonna
just
be real.
oh,
Realistically, they're probably better Agamemnon castings.
I
Let's be
know, I
real.
know. Don't,
I
don't,
love I
don't.
love Benny. I love Benny to
I
death.
know.
I think, but I'll say
But from
this.
Bowser Jr. to this, look,
I thought he was better as
I'm
Bowser Jr.
look. He
Big
had
year, big
so
year.
much aura, and then he just starts talking, and then his voice is kind of like,
I'll say
so
this.
I was murdered.
No, I'll just say this. I actually think the reason he cast Benny is for that scene at Hades, which I think he's incredible. Voice
I
or
think it's
not,
great.
I think he that's I mean, we'll get to that scene later, but he specifically is excellent in it. But his use of it in like the use of Benny Safdie and Agamemnon in this scene, which isn't in Odyssey. Like, let's just be clear. This whole thing is Iliad. So um Benny Safdie
Is
comes in.
it?
Yeah,
Is it
because
Iliad?
Odyssey is
Yeah.
all after Troy. Like this is basically the
Yeah.
end of the Iliad.
Yeah.
Um and he comes in, fully commands the screen. He's already like pretty much going fully viral for just how sick this is. It really is it's a cool movie moment. Like you're watching it and you're like, here we go. Like it's a great battle. The sacking of Troy is so like super engaging and exciting. Um, it's an excellent battle scene, an excellent battle scene, and I think um the interesting thing about it is that this would be in any other movie, this would be the climax of the film, right? But what Nolan does is he puts this in an hour into the film. And so we begin to see that this kind of subsequent events coming out of this are really as a consequence of this scene. And one of the fascinating things about this movie is that I think one of its main themes is kind of is consequence. And the idea that while this could be seen as a kind of warlike triumph, and that in theory, Agamemnon and Odysseus have this kind of big success at Troy, it's probably the worst thing that's ever happened to Odysseus and Agamemnon, because of course Agamemnon was killed by Clytemnestra, and Odysseus has this 20-year journey home dealing with an entire loss of his crew and is just fully annihilated emotionally. I think, the idea to kind of frame the scene not as a success so much, but as the kind of um, sig signal to the fall of civilization is such an interesting choice and a really cool thematic read on it. So yeah, in addition to being just a great action scene, I think it's really thematically important to this movie.
Let me ask you a question. For those who have read both the Odyssey and the Iliad, which one do you prefer? Because personally, I'm actually more of a fan of the Iliad.
I'll tell you what, I wanted to crunch the Odyssey before this movie came out, so I haven't read the Iliad.
You
Um,
should. It's
I, I
it's in my opinion, it's better.
I really would like to read it. And in the book, The Odyssey as well, there's an interesting choice to include Achilles in the Hades scene, which is
Hmm.
cut from this movie because I think for good
Oh,
reason Nolan didn't really
yeah,
want to step on the Iliad that much. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, so that's the sacking of Troy, which I think is legitimately one of the best scenes in recent memory. I'll just say, if we can jump ahead a little bit, um, Odysseus reveals later that after the initial sacking, he sees the kind of consequences of his actions when a kind of slave girl is beheaded in front of him, uh, who has the face of Zendaya, who is also playing Athena in this film, who is, I guess, his kind of spiritual mentor. She's the goddess of strategy and war and battle. Um, first off, what did you guys think of Zendaya in this movie, the choice to cast her, and what do you think her role kind of means in the context of the Troy scene where she plays maybe the same character, maybe someone a little different?
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I guess in the Odyssey, like as a text, I feel like he played a way bigger role.
Oh
I
yeah.
was kind of
Hmm.
surprised by like how kind of small she felt in this, which is, I don't
Mm,
know, it's a decision. I think Zendaya is an actress. She worked for this. I can, yeah, actually, she worked pretty well. For the limited screen time she had.
I agree.
But
I think
yeah,
she's a welcome presence in the movie.
yeah, I do feel like maybe I would have preferred her to be a little bit of a bigger part of it, maybe like a bit more of a supportive character to Odysseus. Yeah, I mean, there are a few moments where I'm looking at this movie as an adaptation. I'm like, well, do we really need to spend so much time on this and then cut out these parts? I feel like, yeah, Athena's character was one of the biggest victims to that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think Nolan makes this choice in the movie to exclude a lot of the god stuff. We don't see any other god. We don't see Poseidon, Zeus,
which I'm
Apollo.
which I was a little disappointed about. I don't know.
I
And of course, there's going to be a lot of controversy with that, with showing Greek gods as actors. Sure, I mean, but if you're showing Athena, you might as
I
well
just
show a few more. And
I
I
mean,
just, my personal hang-ups with Athena is just basically like Otto. It's just I don't think she got enough time. And if we're basing it on a text where Athena is like quite prominent in the text,
mhm,
it was a little bit of a shame.
yeah. I
And
think
Zendaya didn't get much dialogue time either. It's mostly
no.
just her looking kind of disappointingly at Matt Damon,
Yeah,
which I mean, how many
fair enough.
times have we seen Zendaya look disappointingly as a male figure? I mean, come on, we had the drama for that.
I think the choice to not include any gods is ultimately very smart. And I think we can say, like, you know, maybe it would be cool to see Nolan's take on these like giant cosmic titan figures. But at the same time, kind of what he's going for with this grounded interpretation, I just think, showing Odysseus slamming down thunderbolts and Poseidon like raging up the ocean ultimately is just going to kind of take away from the kind of more intimate feel of this movie, which is kind of very intimate. Odysseus is given real kind of emotional stakes, and the Penelope side of it is much more like kind of about the kind of politics of this, and there's a whole aspect of it which is Zeus's law, which I want to talk about.
Right.
But I think kind of ultimately the choice to also make Zendaya the kind of slave who is killed um, offers a much more kind of psychological and even philosophical kind of interpretation of the Athena thing, because it is said in the books and in this film that basically gods can take the form of people, and that because of that, you want to be kind to everybody and welcoming to everybody, offer them food and shelter because they might just be a god in disguise. And I think Athena's choice to take the visage of somebody who Odysseus has wronged reminds him of his kind of past mistakes and gives him more conflict as a character. All right, we can now move on to the kind of remaining islands and where Odysseus goes before he ultimately returns home. The next place we get, I believe, is Circe's Island. I'll just say, island-wise, this might be my favorite. Um, I'll
I
say
love
from here,
Samantha Morton.
I know. I'll say from here on out throughout the movie, I really, really had to pee, but didn't want to get up. So the rest of this is in a real kind of insane mental state for me. So I have a hard time. But
I mean,
Cersei
it's
is portrayed by
insane.
Samantha Morton.
I mean, it's insane when she turns all those people into people pigs.
Yeah,
It's quite a feat of CGI, I think.
it's no CGI. It's practical.
Yeah.
They use
Oh
similar
my!
techniques present in an American Werewolf in London, I believe, in kind of Rick Baker's work, where he basically takes these kind of rubber prosthetic faces, and she's kind of like jamming her hand
Yeah.
inside the mouths and like all this stuff.
Amazing.
It's Nolan's first real horror movie, and he's kind of expressed for some times that he'd want to do a horror movie. But this scene, I think, is like legitimately features incredible horror tropes done extremely well. It's a great take on the scene from the book. I think this is really one of the highlights of the movie, and I think Samantha
Yeah.
Morton, if she wasn't in it for just 15 minutes, I would say she's deserving of an Oscar nomination for this because she's just
Absolutely.
incredible.
Absolutely. But I'm going to be honest, like to to be cast in that role, essentially jamming your hand up people's mouths,
Yeah,
must be pretty disgusting. I mean,
I bet they had fun though. I mean,
I bet
not
they
in a
did
weird
too.
way.
right, that's getting cut.
I meant in terms of like acting and pulling it up. But I think especially like the soup stuff, like I don't know what the hell they were eating, but it's
That
just
looked
so
like miso
disgusting.
soup. No, it
That's
looked
what I
like
was thinking.
it looked really nice.
What? It was like
Sorry,
filled
the
with all this like
soup.
cartilage and like
I don't know.
raw
It looked kind
humanity.
of nice.
I could chop some like tofu up in there. Like
Yeah,
I could eat that.
absolutely.
What?
I think me and Otto were just in different states at that time.
So
Maybe.
I guess you're saying you want to become Cersei's pig, essentially. What
Or
you're saying.
beavers. It's
Right.
it's 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 it's
One or
it's,
the other.
That's the real.
it's your time.
Um, I also think there's a cool choice made here that's also in the book to have Hamish Patel and Odysseus's crew kind of mutiny against him a little bit. They're like, hey, why
Mhm.
don't you take the back seat for this one? And he goes off hunting. Um, but when he comes back, he basically has this talk with Cersei about how, despite Zeus's law, people have kind of lost their morals. And I think that's like a really interesting take on the character because in the book, she's both villainous and I'll just say she and Odysseus have a year-long torrid love affair, which is cut from this
Yeah.
film for obvious reasons. But the kind of choice to make her sympathetic, and there's a choice to make a lot of the kind of villainous characters these really somewhat sympathetic, I think is really kind of mature from Nolan. And I think the choice to do that has you both empathizing with the character, understanding her a lot better, as a human being. I really love this scene. I think also just in terms of the way it's shot, I think we should say up to this point, and here is where we can talk about the cinematography. Um, we basically get these incredible islands, and like they shoot them in this remarkably grand way. Plus, there's this kind of sea element to it where interjecting these island adventures, we kind of get these moments where Odysseus is kind of looking out to sea and his crew is rowing the boat, and it seems very intense. There's multiple storms. I just think that doing this all practically and in 70 millimeter IMAX just makes it look completely incredible. Do you guys have anything to say about the way it's shot?
I mean, this is some of the best looking water I've seen in a movie.
That's what. Remember when I tapped you when there was that beautiful sunset thing?
Yeah.
And there's a
I
whole
tapped him
dolphin
and said,
thing, which is taking its own story about how were just shooting the water, and then these two dolphins just jumped up at the perfect time, like it wasn't staged, and they included it in the movie. Like,
yeah, I mean, certainly the cinematography, just like I mean, obviously this is an incredibly maximalist film, so they're not going to be using many close-up shots. So just their use of ultra, 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 ultra wide shots in this film,
mhm.
like whether it's the opening with the Trojan horse submerged in the sand, which I genuinely
Such an
think
insane shot.
is an amazing shot and could be someone's wallpaper if they wanted. But
Some
Yeah.
and then you cheers. And you
We
got
know this guy's
like
wallpaper is Penny Sackett.
oh, it's right behind me. Um, but I mean, like there were just some great shots just of just the Greek islands. It's a great, you know what? It's a great advertisement to go to Greece because
I really want to
like
go.
some
I've
of
been,
the
but I want to go
beaches
again.
that they filmed on were like genuinely quite picturesque. I was
Yeah.
quite impressed. Um,
Um,
I researched where they kind of filmed around. They kind of filmed around even parts like Paros, which Otto was on a few weeks ago.
yo,
um, but I mean, there's just something about these kind of sparse beaches and big stretches of forest. It's so cool. It's
it is
so
cool.
cool. And I still wonder how they filmed the boat scenes, whether they did that in a studio or they did that like actually in the water. I don't know.
And
It's anybody's guess.
there's a whole other layer to it where the IMAX cameras are so big that they had to create these kind of like blimp-like balloons for them to go inside of so they don't block out the sound. And they had to use a mirror system in the dialogue scene so the actors could talk to the mirrors, which are also
Yeah.
framed to talk to actors. And like you feel none of that in the movie. Like the whole movie is just so well cut, and they're
Yeah.
cutting like so often that you really just go along for it in a way where you don't really need all of the traditional ways to shoot a scene. It's like Nolan kind of dispenses with all of that in order to make this movie viable in any way.
I mean, there's a shot in this film where like it's a drone shot, and kept on wondering how they managed to get the IMAX camera in the sky. I
Hmm.
mean, they must have shot it off a helicopter.
Helicopter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even that though is just insane.
just to reflect on the cinematography in general in comparison with the Circe scene. I mean, that's what made the yeah, like that like kind of panning mid shot where like, it's just all of
Yeah.
them like eating and it's just so it
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of that scene from The Substance where the guy is just forgot his name where he's just like eating those
Eat the
prawns.
lobster, yeah. I
Yeah,
know
it
what
reminds
you're
me. It's like that plus the opening scene of Reservoir Dogs, where the camera's just going around the table. Like it's just, yeah, that's it. It's just a great scene. I love this island. I think it's one of the best
I
ones.
mean, yeah, like there's no doubt about that. And again, it's just one of the times where the sound design like literally comes in so
Yeah,
well when demonstrating that visceral eating sound, which is horrible to watch and listen to.
yeah, it's a
Like
lot of that.
blind people are going to have a lot of questions coming out of that scene, but they do it so well. It's immaculate.
It is immaculate. And after this scene, we keep cutting back to Ithaca. At this point, Pattinson is really kind of um is loving up to Penelope and is putting himself forward as the kind of best suitor. Um, I will say I think Pattinson's really incredible in this movie, and I think what he does is just remarkable. He's on a hot streak right now. Um, I really hope he gets nominated for an Oscar this year. It's hard to tell which one
But
because
like he like has like, and he's still got Dune as well to.
he has Dune and he has the film why is it leaving my head? He has a new Lance Oppenheim movie about how to catch a predator. You know, whether it's this or the drama or Dune 3 or that movie, I just think
He
he's
needs
been
an
doing such great
Oscar,
work.
bro. He
It's
needs an
time.
Oscar. Like A Good
He's so
Time, The
great as
Lighthouse,
Ansons.
The Batman. Come on, it's about
He's
time.
he's
It's
a total
about time
highlight of
he
this
gets
movie.
something. And like holy career arc, like starting
Yeah,
off in a bum ass Twilight and now it's starring in AAA movies. Like
I know.
that's fantastic. And to be fair, he deserves it more than anyone. Like
Yeah.
when I saw him on the cast list for both Dune, the drama, and the Odyssey, I'm like, well, two of those are AAA movies, and
Hmm.
like, both like seeing. I mean, it seems that Patterson and Zendaya are like almost a power couple in the sense that they're
Yeah,
both of
Tom
them are
Holland's getting
always
mom
getting
card out
like,
in more
yeah,
ways than
Tom,
one.
Tom, 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 like, he's already made headlines for that weird interview that he did where it's like, if you have a problem with, have you seen it?
Yeah.
Like,
Quote is, if you have a problem with me, text me, and if you don't have my number, you don't know me well enough to have a problem with me.
That is so good.
if you have a problem with me, just text me.
If you don't have
If
my
you
number,
don't know, we can't have a problem.
Tom Holland. Oh,
And it's just he's just making a bit of a fool of himself. I'll be honest.
yeah,
Especially,
we could
I
talk
don't.
about him.
We can talk about him later. Like near the end of the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, but I think
But
Pattinson's doing
yes,
great.
Patterson, he's so great, and I love
Yeah,
it because he always plays those. He always plays those types of characters. Like they're not like he never plays the protagonist. He always
mhm.
plays like a kind of like
little slimy man.
He's slimy. I mean, somebody get these beggars out of here is already
Someone get the
yeah,
bag out of here.
bro. And he didn't clock
the
it. I was like
delivery.
tapping him on the shoulder, and he was like, "Oh yeah,
What I love, is
someone
like
get these beggars out of
he
here."
has these lines, and later on in the movie where it's like, get the swords, get the shields, and it's like so overblown, and it's even a little like corny and kitschy, but it's
It
also
is.
just so fun, and he sells it so well that you just get really kind of into him, and like you really hate his character by the end of the movie. Um, then the next scene is Hades, which I think is probably just a personal favorite island of mine. Cersei says that in order to get home, you'll have to sail through Hades and confront your past. Um, and this is a scene in which Odysseus does that. He and his remaining men travel to this kind of underworld island where they meet the kind of wraith spirits um, of Agamemnon and of Sinon, and they're confronted by their past mistakes. Noah, why don't you talk us through Ludwig Göransson's score?
Right. So I did a little bit of research into the score, and a traditional Greek instrumentation, uh, when approached with this kind of task, you obviously need to be true to the place that it was set in. So Goransson had to work with basically Nolan saying you cannot work with an orchestra. That's what Nolan said to Goransson when faced with this task.
Mm.
Um, Instead, he had to rely on traditional Greek instrumentation and percussion, which I think is a very interesting take on the Odyssey, and actually something that I believe might be better than an orchestra. However, I think that the whole non-orchestra thing is a little bit of bullshit because there is an orchestra in it. They're just in different parts, which does annoy me a little bit because there is definitely orchestral elements throughout this whole score, and I think it's what's part of what makes it so powerful. Um, so
I think this is one of his best scores.
um, it is 100%. I mean, I personally preferred Oppenheimer, but I think that this is a very close second, and the reviews that it's been getting on some music platforms are quite
Probably
disappointing.
gonna win. He's probably gonna win.
Um, yeah, probably. Which is, you know what, it should have gone to La Patin last year. It didn't go to La Patin
Didn't get
last year,
nominated.
which is a damn shame. But he might win it again. But let's actually talk about the score in general.
Yeah.
The instrumentation is actually surprisingly, on second listen, quite faithful to traditional Greek instrumentation. Using the lyre quite a bit is decently effective, and also using, I don't know, I've forgotten what the name of it, but it's a traditional Greek instrument that comprises of two recorder-like instruments played at once.
Yeah.
That's the earliest form of melodic instrument that we have. In fact, the first ever song that was created is something that was written on a stone in ancient Greece. I would have liked to have heard more vocal passages, which there was quite a bit of, but there wasn't enough. Because when you rewind the clocks to ancient Greek music, you hear essentially spoken word / sung versions of the Odyssey. Now,
Yeah.
if we're telling a story of the Odyssey, we need to have some of that choral, which
It's
there
important
isn't
to
much
note.
of.
I think that the Odyssey is a story not just told in text, but it's been spoken. Like this is a story that has kind of traveled
Absolutely.
vocally
And
across generations.
yeah, and my dad, who's been doing a bit of research in preparation for the Odyssey, which is tough,
That
he
is,
he listened to a whole Stephen Fry interview, who knows a lot about these kind of things, talking about the oral heirloom of the Odyssey and how Homer was basically just sandwiched in between generations and generations of storytelling,
yeah,
learning the whole text by heart. That is crazy. Learning the whole text without any guide, literally word for word by heart. I think that
well,
in that case, Goranson definitely should have played into the more spoken word aspect or the more choral aspect. Maybe manipulating a voice would be really cool, because that's something that he does really well in his other scores, which is manipulating sound. And that's essential in any film score. And you do get it sometimes in here. The prime example of this is the Agamemnon bit, which is genuinely a masterwork of orchestration, because he basically distorts this tuba and trombone so much like
yeah.
boom,
Uh,
boom, and it's menacing,
for a
which I think is
blockbuster movie, this score is highly experimental,
it
and
is, and you know what? It's great. It's
yeah,
great.
it's a great
Personally,
score.
I don't think it's experimental enough, but um, I am kind of impressed. I mean, the whole thing is Nolan wanted pitched percussion because of the Bronze Age, so that means including lots of gongs, chimes, cowbells,
Yeah, a
no
lot of
use
war
of a
gongs.
tam-tam, which
Yeah,
annoys me, thunder sheets and stuff like that, which is cool, definitely. But Goranson has this trope, which I'm not the biggest fan of, just how many times it's used in the movie
mhm,
and used in Oppenheimer. It all started with Can You Hear the Music, which is basically a gradual accelerando with like a million
yeah,
tempo changes, right? It seems that literally the whole of the Odyssey score is based on accelerating rhythms,
it is.
starting off like bum bum ba ba
Dun,
ba,
dun,
and then
dun.
ends
And
like
then
ba
until
ba
it
ba
gets
ba
like
ba
so
ba
fast that you
ba
can't even
ba
register
ba
when.
ba.
Yeah,
That is effective, but it
it is.
can't be used the amount of times that he uses it. In my opinion, he uses it
Maybe.
a lot. Like
Really.
genuinely, every other island he uses it. I don't know
I
if you guys
never
are
felt.
tuned into this kind of thing, but like I
I don't
pay
know.
attention to these things a lot.
Yeah, but like it didn't feel repetitive at any point. I don't feel
Not to me.
like it always worked
To me,
for
it did,
me.
but again, maybe he's just being experimental. There are other parts like the Hades section. I think is really good. I think the best highlight is the sirens are pretty great. Um, in my opinion, maybe used after the scene. Um, and
Yeah,
I was a massive fan of the Agamemnon sequence. But
yeah,
this is, and I'm going to be vocal about this. This is my main complaint with this film. Is the mixing. The mixing annoyed me. It's a Nolan issue. His
it
films are
is.
so maximalist that you literally have dialogue, foley, music, screams, natural ambient sound and like extra sounds mixed into one scene,
This
and
was a
that can
major
be,
problem people had with Tenet. This was their problem with
yeah.
Tenet. People were like, they're
I
mixing
mean,
these movies.
it is incredibly problematic,
Yeah.
and I think so. My thoughts on the score when I came out the movie, which it was okay. When I listened to the album, it was amazing. But
Mhm.
that's the reason why. The mixing doesn't pay any justice to the score, which does annoy me quite a bit.
I don't know. I didn't have as much of a problem with the mixing. I think there might be a little bit too much bass, but I
Right,
feel like
the sub bass in the movie, and
it's pretty insane.
we talked about, is a little like you have to save the sub bass. The
He
sub
goes a
bass is
lot.
he does it every 2 seconds, and
Uh,
it is. I mean,
I
come
think he
on,
just wants to give people this theatrical experience of having like the bass and
I
feeling
guess
that
so.
like you're into it, and maybe he kind of compromises some of like literal understanding in that. Um, but yeah, I think you broke down the score really well. Um, I think this movie is edited superbly. I think Jennifer Lame has only made his filmmaking style better by knowing what to cut, how to cut it, how to best kind of keep things moving in a really interesting way. Um, yeah, I just think this scene is so cool. I think the way they shoot the blood on and the shield and then kind of drinking from it in order to talk, the way all the actors' faces are muddied and dirtied, and I think this is kind of where the makeup really shines as well. And I just think the three performances from Damon and Safdie and from Paige are just really, really great and emotional. And then we get this prophecy, which I wanted to ask you about because it's a curious little thing in the movie where it basically tells you what's going to happen the next 20 to 30 minutes. But at the same time, it is kind of thematically rewarding because it shows you that kind of Odysseus has a fate and that this fate he must fulfill. Um, what did you guys
Yeah.
think of this scene and of this choice?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a little, so yeah, as a consequence of cutting out all of the Cyclops' speaking, it does feel a little bit weird how they're all like so pissed off at Odysseus, basically for, shooting an arrow into an already blind guy. Like, that doesn't seem like a huge deal almost, or it doesn't seem really justified in the
Oh,
same way it's
is that
justified.
yeah? That is
Yeah,
what they were
whereas,
pissed
with the
about.
whole I
That's
am
what
nobody,
happened.
like that's really showing off his hubris. Like I would be pissed off with that if I was Poseidon, really.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
here,
definitely.
like this is where you can really like this is the rift between him and his crew. I think this makes
Yeah,
a lot more sense. And it just makes it like you just feel A, you feel bad for them, but B, like that's the moment like I started like kind of getting scared for him. Like even knowing
yeah.
what's going to happen, I still feel like, they might like
How the hell
trade
is he gonna get
or
there?
something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I mean the next part of this movie is just kind of hell for his crew. They just get getting picked off one by one until
yeah.
ultimately they betray him
I mean,
in
was
search of
that
their own interests.
on the? So I mean, I know that we might not be here yet, but like, let's briefly talk about the whirlpool scene.
Yeah,
Just
so this is a chapter in the book called Scylla and Charybdis. I butchered
sorry,
that.
it's been such a long
Uh,
time since I've read it.
Charybdis is sorry, is how the proper pronunciation is. But it's
Charybdis,
basically
is that the
it's this
creature that?
that's the whirlpool. The whirlpool has a name.
Yes, but
Scylla is
what's
the
the
name of the
name of the?
creature.
Yeah, the creature. Yeah.
And it's if you look it up, there are certain like depictions of it. It's a very kind of kraken like tentacle thing. Um, but I think Nolan makes this really cool choice, and I'm cool to talk about this soon. Because the next kind of 20 minutes go very fast and are kind of like this, and this is kind of one in the sequence. It's a quick scene. It's very fantastical. And I think Nolan makes the smart choice to not really show us the creature. They just show tentacles grabbing the men, which is a kind of classic technique of like don't show everything. And I think it's a cool scene. You know, I think there are cooler scenes in the movie. We don't really
Definitely.
get a crazy monster. Um, the men just keep getting picked off. But before that, one of the things that happens is the sirens. which is another iconic thing in this movie. And honestly, I
Oh, I
think one
can't
of the
wait to talk about
sneaky
this.
best scenes in the movie.
In terms of sound design, I was so impressed with the siren, because obviously
Totally.
the sirens is incredibly tough to both kind of pull off in a film, because how are you supposed to like represent like the most beautiful song ever written and literally catch like and like see the desperation of people? And genuinely, this is, I think, the scene where like Matt Damon really
Damon is
shines.
unbelievable in this scene.
He's
His
he's
look is just it's like a fully
it's
broken man. Like
it's
it's
complete desperation.
yeah. And what he says afterwards is so moving too. It's I have it here. It's one of my I think it's one of the best things in the movie. All the things you want it to be, then all the things you wish you had never wished for. It was the delicious itch you go to scratch, but find it's under the skin. You can't reach it. So the delicious itch becomes unbearable. Told you what you most want is what you most can't have, and what you most can't have is what you already had and lost. I mean,
That's tough.
we can like, you know, troll on Nolan, and he certainly has a past of poor dialogue, and all this is true. But this
That
is
is
really moving stuff. Like
yeah,
this is
that's
genuinely
genuinely fantastic.
it's really beautiful writing, I think. And when I was sitting in the theater watching it and watching Damon speak that dialogue and watching what happens when another man goes to the sirens and he shoots it at a distance, we never get too close. I don't know. I found this scene extremely moving, and in many ways, the emotional high point for Matt Damon's character. And I just think this is really one of the best
Yeah,
scenes in
I
the
mean,
film.
so I was so from what I can remember, I was a little disappointed with the sirens, how Goranson scored it, and I will go back on this later. But
Mhm.
obviously, you would expect for it to be some sort of choral thing, but it is actually using wind instruments, which I kind of wasn't a
Yeah,
fan of, because that's not really the siren song. It should definitely be some sort of
I,
um, manipulated choral music, in my opinion.
I don't know.
That's
I
pretty
don't think you need to
cool.
hear. I think I love the score in this scene, and I think what's really special about it is that Goranson makes a specific choice not to really give the sirens. He gives the sirens this motif, and the woodwinds do have this kind of wailing thing to it, but he doesn't really give them a literal voice, which
I
again
know.
lets your imagination do the work.
Because obviously, how are you supposed to score the most beautiful music in the world?
Right.
In
And I
my
think it's
opinion,
different to everybody.
in my
And that's the
opinion,
point of
I
the scene.
actually think that the right way he should have done it is actually to not score it at all, and for literally it to just be the
So
because obviously the sound design here is so cool.
it
Obviously
does cut
using
out for a second, I think, right?
using no, the great thing is how they use EQ in this scene. How like when they put on the earwax, all of the top
Mm,
frequencies are
yeah.
obviously all taken out,
Hmm.
the kind of bassy frequencies in the bottom, and you can only really hear the ship going on. And I feel like they would have been much better to kind of not score it at all, and instead
I
kind of just have the ship bobbing along and just hearing Matt Damon's characters screaming. And it's more like, well, what is he listening to? What's so amazing? I
Maybe.
feel like that, personally, that would have been my choice.
I don't know. I think this scene really works in every way. I really love this scene. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Oren. It's a very like nice, like tease of the most beautiful song I've ever heard.
yeah,
No, I think
Okay,
I kind
I
of really
don't.
like it.
yeah. But
No,
I'm interested. This is one of those scenes that I'm most excited to go back and rewatch because
yeah, definitely.
yeah, it's a really cool moment. Then before we get back to Ithaca, we have one more stop, and this is the stop where really kind of all of the confusion around timelines and where we are is kind of put to rest as we meet Calypso, portrayed by Charlize Theron. This is
She's really good at it. She's
You.
really good at
number
it.
one, she's great in it, and number two, it's just great casting for Calypso.
Yeah,
Like you just are fully convinced Matt Damon would spend a full 10 years on that
yeah.
island.
I'd spend a full 10 years with
I
Charlize
was
Theron.
yeah, I was gonna say
Absolutely.
this is a
I,
yeah,
I, I knew
very
you would,
interesting.
Oren.
Um, I do think, but she has this kind of great skill as an actor, though, where she's able to portray this like really kind of conflicted emotion around keeping Odysseus from his fate. And in the book, she is this much more like witch-like figure who like drugs him with the lotus flowers, keeps him there, and ultimately she becomes so obsessed with him that she just can't bear to like see him hurt anymore. But in this movie, she is a much more kind of nuanced character where she's like, I love the man and I love being with him, but at the same time, he needs to get home to his family. She's less malicious and she's much more kind of relatable, which I think is a really smart choice.
Yeah.
I have a few issues, but I want to
Yeah.
hear your thoughts.
All right. Well, I mean, I'll just say, yeah, it is a nuanced performance. I kind of wish it was a little less nuanced, to be honest. I mean, just like when he was leaving, I just didn't really feel at all
That she would miss
that,
him.
like, that they've been together for 10 years. It was just
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like, oh, yeah,
it's-
goodbye. I'll see you later, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I wish there was a little bit more for me to chew on there. I mean, she does I'm glad that you guys liked her so much. I thought she did a fine job.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did feel like a little bit was missing there.
I think there's an
Definitely.
aspect to it where I think Odysseus has some responsibility for it. And I think the movie kind of, it doesn't dumb it down, but again, it has so much going on that it just can't really get into the weeds of this whole dynamic where Calypso has drugged him. But at the same time, Odysseus, I feel like in the books, is a much more kind of complicit with this. And they do have a love affair for like a good 5-10 years. But the movie is kind of making this choice to have Odysseus be incredibly faithful to Penelope, whereas it might be just like an interesting character choice to see him be a little bit more.
That's one of my hang-ups with kind of the movie and keeping it a little bit loyal to the original text.
Mhm.
There is that whole thing about, and obviously, I mean, me and my dad were talking about it this morning because he hasn't seen it. And he was saying, and he's right. There's so many endings to the Odyssey.
There are.
Like,
I'd be
there's so
interested
many
to talk about
endings.
the ending to this one. This one is really interesting.
Yeah, this one I wasn't 100% on because of kind of this, and the fact that like the truth is that in the original text, like Odysseus does like have a love affair with like Circe, and he has a love
Yeah.
affair with Calypso, and he has and he's got this whole thing with Athena the whole time as well, which is a little bit unfaithful to the original text, and honestly, it's a little bit unrealistic. I mean,
Yeah.
but I guess it's there to portray kind of the power of Penelope, and
Yeah.
because obviously the whole thing is that Robert Pattinson is trying to take over him and remarry her, so why can't he do the same and remarry and have love affairs with these people? But you know what?
I'll just say
It's
I'm
all
not
because
sure I
of
would
the
have left
ending.
that
It's
out.
all because of the ending.
I think we can safely start moving towards the ending now. So essentially, Odysseus builds a raft from his fallen ship. His crew have kind of since abandoned him after being kind of cursed by Poseidon and eating his cattle. But this is where we kind of start the homecoming phase of this. No Tom Holland pun intended. By this point, the suitors are kind of highly agitated and they are making serious motions towards marrying off Penelope. Again, Telemachus thinks he's making moves, but he's really kind of just walks around like an idiot. I guess we can talk about Tom Holland here because we've been holding off a little bit and we've been teasing it out. But I just think, it needs to be said that I don't know who I would have cast, but I probably would not have settled on Tom Holland.
I don't know. It's weird because like obviously the whole lead up to this movie, people obviously had their doubts, and then of course he had to slip and spoil it with that interview.
Yeah, he's been getting a lot of praise for his performance. Like, I think
I'm not sure. I mean, like
people are mixed on it. I think
people are mixed.
People really
like personally, I don't think he'll get like any nomination.
I don't think he
especially in light of some of the other performances from male supporting actors. I don't know. For Telemachus, I mean, it's a hard character because you obviously you have to both portray him as like like quite childlike, but also very mature by the end of the movie.
He's a
Because he
young adult
starts off
character.
quite childish, and then he ends up being king. Definitely from Tom Holland, I'm like, nah, this guy's still a kid. Like he's
And
not moved on.
it's interesting because, like, in 1 week, we're going to get Spider-Man Brand New Day, where he is essentially transitioning from going Peter Parker to the kid to Peter Parker the adult, which is always kind of a tricky transition historically for Spider-Man. But I don't know. I think the choice to make his accent American, I think the choice to kind of have him
and
act
Patterson as
opposite.
well.
I think Pattinson pulls it off much better, if I'm being
No,
real.
obviously, but I don't know. It's like I mean, I don't know. I see Robert Pattinson as kind of an English guy, and seeing him with an American accent always makes it a little unrealistic. But with Tom Holland, it's on another level for me.
Like,
Like,
oftentimes, like, when you get famous as an actor for playing iconic American part, like, Tom Holland plays Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you'll hear people say, "Oh my God, I had no idea he was British." But it's like from the second people saw Spider-Man: Homecoming, they knew this guy was British just from how rough that
he
American
acts
accent is.
and how
Um,
fucking miserable he is.
I'll
I'm
just,
checking.
I'll just say, we're hating on Tom Holland. He just has a really hard role to do. I don't know who else I would have
Who would
cast.
you have cast?
I don't know. You can't do Chalamet. You can't do Chalamet.
No, of course, Chalamet
You do
wouldn't work, bro.
Chalamet. I'm thinking of young actors like Austin Butler's too cool. Like, all these people are just too cool for it.
And Telemachus isn't cool. No,
He's
actually, no, he
cool,
isn't very.
but at the same time, he
Yeah,
is kind
he's
of a
alright.
dwarfish character.
Honestly, I might have cast maybe Robert Pattinson as Telemachus personally.
He's too good as an Antinous, I think.
Yeah, but then what about like? No, you're right.
It's hard, and he's just outacted in every scene. I think you said it best earlier. He really is kind of outacted.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult. I mean, I'm sure Nolan and his casting direction were kind of because they could get anyone, any actor would act for Christopher Nolan,
and it makes sense to cast Tom Holland on paper. Like, on paper, he's a likable screen presence. People dig in. People go to movies to watch him. And maybe he's a competent actor. I think he's a great Spider-Man. I just think what we ultimately got was a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to it later, I guess, but I would feel like for me the most disappointed I was in him was like kind of in that final scene.
Yeah,
it's a little.
I was thinking like if anyone
wearing the halo. Nah, that's not it.
We'll get to that,
Tom.
Yeah. So basically, time is running out. There's a ticking clock element to this entire third act of this movie. Odysseus disguises himself as a beggar, and him and his son now have a plot to take back palace at Ithaca and take back his throne. We get this nice moment between the dog and Odysseus.
Yeah, that was sweet.
Yeah,
I heard this old woman go, "Oh, they shouldn't show that."
I mean, there's a moment earlier on in the movie where Leguizamo was just throwing puppies off of a cliff. And
Otto, we just looked at each other with that, like, what was the need for that? It was like,
funny.
Why are you doing that?
I mean,
it's like, really, just
goes. He's just like,
bro.
Like, yeah.
No. Why is he doing that?
I don't know. Argus seems like a wonderful dog.
Yeah.
And we get basically a scene where the beggar of Odysseus enters the halls. He is shamed by the suitors, but he talks with Penelope, and this is a really interesting scene where they have this conversation. And I think it's a real emotional moment in the film, and completes both of their character arcs before ultimately reuniting. And then there's you didn't like this scene?
No.
Interesting. Why don't you explain why? And then
the whole Penelope and Patterson scene?
No. The Penelope and Odysseus scene where it's disguised.
Oh no, I love that scene. No, I thought that you were talking about the Penelope and Patterson scene. I wasn't a fan of that one.
That seems okay. I'm talking about the one with her and Odysseus, and where the maid who is washing his feet recognizes the scar he has, which is a great movie moment.
Yes, and you do have just this I don't know. It's suspending my disbelief in this scene. Because I'm sure Penelope would have recognized Odysseus's voice.
I mean, that's been
In the
like
book,
20 years.
in the book, he is
Okay, but come on.
in the
Like,
book. Athena disguises him as another face, which is much
yes.
more
Yeah.
makes sense. But in this movie, they didn't want to do
Um,
fantastical reasons.
but like, having her shrouded behind the I think that's really cool, and we don't get a look into that other room, which I think is really something. I do like it a lot.
Yeah.
And I think it actually reminded me of like kind of the old, like almost like old like Akira Kurosawa movies with those sliding doors, like samurai movies where they're kind of
I mean,
like
the
talking
design
through the doors.
the design of the palace is just in general really cool. Again, shot
Really,
on
really cool.
location. I love the feast hall. I think the individual rooms and the kind of windswept parapets are just really, really just nice to look at and feel very lived in. So, picking up, Odysseus has now overcome most of his challenges, and we're now at the kind of final moments of the movie. So, Penelope essentially lays out this challenge for the suitors. That's really interesting, where it's kind of been built up earlier in the movie. I think here is where the first 30 minutes of the movie start to make a lot more sense and kind of feel much more relevant. Basically, she sets out this challenge that she knows only Odysseus could do, which is to shoot an arrow through a bunch of crossed axes, which no one had ever done to that point. And
Thus revealing his personality.
yes, so if Odysseus were to ever come to her rescue, it would be right now. And some of the suitors try and they fail, but this humble beggar decides to take on the challenge, and the suitors kind of initially mock him. But when he is able to string the bow, which only Odysseus can string, and twangs it, which again brings back the twang, and it's just such a cool moment.
Wow, it is a cool moment in the score.
Cheers
It
in
is
my
a cool
theater.
moment.
I'll say people started cheering. This was the point where people really started to be like into it. He shoots through the axes, and everyone's shocked. And then the henchman goes, "You're Odysseus," and then is killed with an arrow. Which is probably the most cheers in my theater was when that happened. And then basically we get this John Wick fight with Odysseus, a bow and arrow, and a few dozen suitors. Did you guys like this fight scene? Did you think it was very like satisfying? Because I don't know, for me, this entire conclusion might be the most satisfied I've ever been with the ending of a Christopher Nolan movie.
Really?
It was
Yeah.
very nice just seeing
What?
all those guys.
Why am I always disagreeing with you guys? That's not
I
good.
mean, it's up there. I don't know if it's the number one. I think Oppenheimer's ending is unbelievable.
I wasn't the biggest fan of the fight scene.
Huh.
Really, that's interesting.
I don't know. I mean,
the Tom
it's
Holland
just-
one is a little bit.
Similar. I'm just saying, like, we have seen this before quite a few times.
exactly, which
It's
is
a
why
little
I
bit
kind
like, okay,
I got
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
fight scene burnout by the end, and this one didn't matter nearly as much, and wasn't nearly as cool as like the Cyclops chase or the it's just everything kind of paled in comparison
Yeah,
to
I mean,
it.
it's just like the stakes. I mean, this man, like, we've just seen him genuinely like battle these giant ass monsters. So it's like there's no way he's going to get killed by like these random ass guys in his house.
Yeah,
And
random kid.
And yet he almost does.
Yeah,
Where in
but
the
like
movie,
this is the thing
this is the
that I
scene.
do not like. I don't like this. This is when
I'll
I
say
got
this.
pissed off.
Just on the fight and the ending, I can't stress this to you enough. I really had to pee, and I couldn't leave. So like I was just like literally I couldn't focus. So I need to rewatch basically the last 30 minutes of this movie. But
Really?
I thought the fight scene itself was cool. Yeah, again, it doesn't live up to the movie's best moments.
Otto went up 2 times for Pepsi.
Ooh,
I don't know what moments those were. What?
That's interesting.
What?
I
Do you
went
have
out
any
like,
recollection?
right before the scene with the sirens. I remember.
Yeah,
but I was back
I
for the
remember
actual
that.
siren part.
Okay.
He managed to
really
like
respect-
time it so well. He
Yeah,
managed to
that's what I
literally
was
get
scared.
back right. But look, I'm just
I
The
also think
last
Lego's
20
almost
minutes,
great in this part of the movie.
the last 20 minutes of the movie for me kind of dropped it down quite a bit. I was
I don't
kind
know.
of
I wouldn't
I
go
was
that.
unsatisfied for one. I was
I
unsatisfied.
I would say I was satisfied. However, I think there's a conversation to be had about the ending. So basically, Odysseus, of course, defeats all the more the aggressive suitors. The rest of them bow to him as their king. He reunites with Penelope in a very emotionally moving scene, and essentially he first drops down dead. And we're like,
And
wait,
then
is
we get
Odysseus
the
dead?
corny bit.
And then
It's like,
there's a
don't
scene,
die, don't die, Odysseus, don't die. Like,
and
bro,
at one
that
point,
really annoyed me. That actually
at,
like kind of dropped it down a half star for me. Just that
honestly,
one 10-second segment, I actually got angry. Like,
I'll say there are
he's like,
moments
why are we doing this, bro? Like, this
like
is a like an epic poem, and Anne Hathaway is like doing like the most cliche thing a movie can do. Like,
I know, but she's
no,
good and
don't
she's
go,
selling it. She's
don't
trying.
go,
She's
bro.
trying.
It's so poorly written.
I
It's
think
really poorly written.
I think it is, and I think you know, I think when Odysseus started to die, I myself was like, I didn't really mind if he would have died. I was like, wait, are we doing this? And I was like, I'm cool with this if we're doing this because I like a good tragic ending. But ultimately, what happens is basically he's just very very injured. He heals up. He relinquishes the throne to Telemachus and sails west with Penelope in order to honor his kind of dead soldiers. And they have a kind of last voiceover where it says basically, we were worried there would be a time when nobody would be able to write and speak, which is basically like the Dark Ages, which is pretty annoying and on the surface and not a great piece of dialogue. And then they're like, and then civilization has been killed, but it will be born again. And they sail off into the sunset west to honor their dead soldiers. This part of the movie is a little bit it's Nolan. Like it's total Nolan.
Yeah.
That's how he ends most of his movies. I will say I didn't hate it as much as I hate a lot of his other endings. But
Oh, there are a few bad ones.
overall, I just think this movie ended. I mean, the last moments may be a little unsatisfying, but overall, I was just super happy with how this concluded. Otto, do you have anything to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, okay, first of all, we kind of skipped over it, but like that scene where like the rest just kind of give up and they're like doing the sword tapping thing or
Oh,
whatever.
that's so
Little
cool.
double taps. That was
Yeah,
tough. That was tough.
yeah, that was
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like Planet of the Apes or something.
yeah,
But yeah,
Well,
that
a
was
lot of
great.
it is quite Planet of the Apes.
yeah.
Yeah, but then also Tom Holland's just kind of pissed me off. I was just like, I don't know, just
Yeah.
he reunites with the father he's never seen, zero reaction. His father like
I
beats them
know
all, zero
that was
reaction. He
so
gets made king,
annoying
zero
I'll
because
say
reaction.
like
this.
because some people in the audience were so confused because they were like, "Does he know? Does
Does
he
he
In
know?"
know?
defense, in
Yes, he
Yeah,
does
defense,
know.
right. Like this isn't a Riddler situation, bro.
in
Like
defense of Tom
genuine.
Holland,
In
acting wise,
defense.
that would be a very hard scene to play. Like imagine like reuniting with the
Yeah, but
father
this
you've
is
never
Christopher
seen.
Nolan, bro.
Also, like
This is
I
like the tip top. Like this is the directing guy. Like
Yeah.
this is a household name, right? There's no way that this Foyd can like
whoa.
genuinely right, because if you don't know him, right, if you can't send him a message, then you don't know him well enough to insult him, Oren. We have a problem.
You guys don't know him well enough to have a problem. If you had his number, then you could have a problem.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, mate, we have a problem. Wait, so I didn't like him as Telebar. I mean, I don't think many people actually did.
yeah.
In our cinema, I kind of had some annoying sounds when he came in. I think that apart from that, everything else was pretty in place in terms of casting. I thought it was really well casted.
Yeah, this movie isn't flawless, but it is certainly a magnificent work. This movie has made over $640 million globally,
Wow.
broken even. It's going to cross a billion. I would say it's probably going to end its run probably like, I don't know, 1.2, 1.3 billion, and will almost certainly be played in theaters for the rest of time because this is one of probably the theatrical movies. In the same way 2001 is like experience it in IMAX, experience it like on the big screen. This is going to be one of those movies. But in terms of Oscars and reception, I would say this is one of Nolan's best reviewed movies by critics. I mean, I was a little bit unsure how it would be received in the weeks leading up to it, but it was received rapturously. People really, really love this movie. And Oscar-wise, I think it's locked for 12 categories, which would tie the record for maximum nominations. I'm going to read them out to you, as well as some other possible nominations, and then we can get into some other stuff, and then we can end the pod up with our final thoughts. So, in terms of what it's going to get nominated for, I think we can all agree: picture, director, adapted screenplay. I think the screenplay
Sound.
really interesting. Casting, cinematography.
It will win. It will win. Sound so easy.
Original score.
Let him get the rest.
Makeup and hairstyling, costume design, production design, stunts, which is the new category, visual effects, and sound. I think are all pretty much locked. Like I can't really think of a case
I mean,
that.
let's have a look at Dune Part 3, shall we?
Yeah, I mean, Dune Part 3 is the.
It's another big.
This.
Like it's genuinely like these are two titans going against each other.
Yeah.
For this Oscar season,
and
you have to realize that Dune. Sorry,
no.
You have to realize that Dune Part 2 released extremely early on in 2024. So obviously the hype behind it was kind of great, and then by December it was nil. But like this time, obviously the hype train is going to be much in Dune's favor in terms of Oscar noms.
Maybe, but Oppenheimer followed the exact same trajectory of this movie. It was released. These
But
movies
there
were
wasn't
released
Dune.
apart. I know, and it's hard because on one hand, Denis has not gotten the Nolan treatment. He's never won. He's another great director, very well respected. We can see something like The Return of the King happening, where they award the third film in the trilogy to kind of crown this project as a whole. But at the same time, like The Return of the King didn't have something like The Odyssey, where it's like this is a massive film from an Oscar-winning filmmaker. It's his follow-up movie. I'll just say, in terms of like historically, the only time this has happened where a director has won picture and director in consecutive movies is Francis Ford Coppola for The Godfather and Godfather 2, which is pretty crazy to think of. And I think David Lean might have done it as well. That's quite the legacy. And I don't know. I feel like this movie has a really good chance at picture and director right now. I mean, it's looking good for the Odyssey. I'm gonna be real. Otto, do you have any kind of opinions on like what this movie could do well in?
I mean, I think it's very clear that it will be kind of nominated for everything. I do really wonder, who the nominees for Best Supporting Actor and Actress are going to be for this.
I have a lot of skepticism here written down. I think certainly Matt Damon will be nominated because his performance is really liked in this movie.
Yeah.
I think
Anne Hathaway will.
Yeah, it depends whether she runs for lead actress or supporting. I'm gonna guess supporting.
Supporting, obviously.
She's already won in that category, and she's had a big year. So there's a chance she could get nominated for something else or just not get nominated at all. I don't think Holland's gonna get it. Pattinson, there's a world. I hope John Leguizamo gets a nomination. Frankly, I think he's really great in this movie. And then I have somewhat jokingly, this movie could break Sinner's record with an original song nomination for Travis Scott and James Blake.
I hope not.
Which would be cool. I mean, imagine Travis Scott singing in full Bard outfit at the Oscars. I think we're all tuning into that.
That'd be tough.
But yeah, I mean, I'll just say on Dune 3, I was one of the lucky theaters that saw the scene from it. where Denis basically told Nolan, like, hey, I'm going to show a scene of Dune in front of your movie on IMAX. And it was pretty incredible.
Holy hell.
Um,
But, like, surely Nolan was not happy with that.
I mean, I think they did it together. I don't think one of them was like, I'm
Yeah.
doing this, and the other.
Yeah.
I think there's some rivalry going on, and I'm
know.
all for it.
But yeah, I mean, let's wrap up this conversation. So, overall, what were your thoughts on Odyssey? Did you think that it's his best film? Do you think it's up there? I know for me, it's my favorite film of the year so far. I'd be interested to see if something comes along that could dethrone it quality wise. I don't think it's quite a 5, but it's almost there for me. So, what did you guys think of the Odyssey overall?
First of all, just Nolan. I mean, I don't know about you guys. Kind of going first, like after seeing Oppenheimer, I did kind of have a feeling like, okay, how much does Nolan really have left in him? Like, how many movies are we
Yeah.
going to get from him? Not that I really enjoyed Oppenheimer, but
Mhm.
I did kind of struggle to see like where he's going to go from here.
Mhm.
So to see
I think we
this,
all did.
yeah, I'm just like, how many movies does he have left?
I'm
Like,
telling you,
Yeah.
the next one is definitely Blood Meridian. Definitely.
I think the next
I
one.
don't think so.
No, I
It's
think for
it's
me,
going to be a dystopia. It's going to be a dystopia.
maybe. I think. I mean, this is really one of those like I just don't know where you go from this. Like, this is arguably the biggest story and biggest movie that has ever existed. So
Next one, Bible.
I'm saying, I mean, like, in my
Could
opinion,
happen.
I think he's gonna scale back. I think he's gonna press the reset a little bit on this stage of his career and say, I want to do actually like a really down and dirty horror movie or like
I
a
would
kind of
love to
genre
see
piece.
that.
I would love to
That
see
won't
that because
happen.
he obviously has the talent for just thrilling audiences. But yeah, I mean, this movie is really the kind of it's hard not to consider it like the biggest point of his career, I think, in
Oh
terms of
yeah.
just scale, execution. The script is great. Everything in this movie just kind of seems to really work, and even the things that don't work are more or less overshadowed completely by just the sheer amount of ambition and skill, I think, present in this movie. Um, Noah, do you have any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Me? Well, I came into this movie expecting a lot. I came out satisfied. I think it's a giant step in Nolan's career. Where he's going to go from this, I have no idea. He's either going to go up somehow or go back to kind of memento-y things, which I'm going to be honest, I kind of don't want. I want him to continue these really cool experiences. I would love to see him. I don't know how you do it either, but like when I finished Oppenheimer, I was like, where are we going to go from here? Like
Yeah.
I felt like that there was no higher thing, and then he did Odyssey. So
And this
who
movie's
knows?
sub 3 hours as well. So yeah, I think we've just about covered all of the Odyssey. If you're watching this and you haven't seen the film, I would highly encourage you to go see it in theaters.
Yeah, and I
This is
don't know
one of
why
the
you've watched
best.
this whole thing because we've just spoiled the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
If
this
you're
is one of the
watching
best theater movies I've ever
You're
seen.
a idiot. Click off.
If you're watching this at all, huge shout out.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know
honestly,
what?
thank you,
Hours.
Buzz
thank you.
Lulu.
Yeah, I'll just say like, yeah, thank you to all of our highly devoted fan base. We know you all
Yeah.
care. And hey, next time we'll be ranking Christopher Nolan's films, including the Odyssey. I can't wait to see where you guys would place this movie against his other work. Thank you guys for hopping on.
Before we finish, can we shout out my music podcast? We're going to be
Yes,
having
what's that
Otto on
called?
soon. That's called it's just on my Noah Deitch channel.
Okay,
You can find it in the description probably if Oren bothers to
I'll link
do
it.
it, which he probably won't.
Yeah.
But we just done an episode on Mezzanine, which I'm just dropping tonight.
I'll do that.
So yes, thank you guys.
Now, much like Christopher Nolan, I am going to hibernate in the editing room of this podcast.